Having the ability to achieve a clean range of motion through thoracic extension has far-reaching implications into how you stand, where you breathe, and even how mobile your shoulders are. You'll often hear people say chest up, shoulder blades back and down, all in a hopes to get a little bit closer to neutral. But it usually ends up doing quite the opposite for most people, while also looking very unnatural. This cue has been beaten into the ground, and its original intention was to create some level of shoulder stability while giving you a sense of a more upright position. The reality is that unless you look at not only the thoracic spine, but also the implications of how it interacts with your hips, shoulders, and head, you'll forever be running into dead ends. Throughout this video, I hope to offer some insight into this important relationship so you can not only unlock your thoracic spine, but also start to feel and move in new ways. Let's get into it. So for our first technique to improve thoracic extension, you're gonna wanna grab a Bosu, a pillow also works here, as I realize a lot of people don't have these, but a great tool to have in your arsenal. And we're gonna use this to give ourselves some feedback as to how to maintain a neutral lumbar while we achieve some level of thoracic extension. A lot of the time when people are trying to achieve thoracic extension, they're not actually doing so through their T-spine, which is really just the midsection of the back. What you'll start to see is kind of this overextension start to happen through the lumbar. So we're gonna try to take that out of the equation and bring some feedback into our thoracic spine on the Bosu ball. So how you're gonna start this one is just on top of your pillow or on top of the Bosu ball. And really we're just gonna allow ourselves to get heavy here initially. And I want you to just put one hand on your lower back. And we're just gonna make sure that the tone of these lower erectors isn't in overextension or in an excess of anterior tilt. If you are, just gently tuck the tailbone just to kind of soften the tone of the tissues back there. And then what we're gonna begin to do is draw some awareness to our elbows and our hands up front, because we're gonna use this as feedback to achieve some level of thoracic extension. So once you have yourself set up in this position, you got the lumbar neutral, we have the elbows in front, and I'm almost in kind of this plank position. We're gonna start to work on a subtle kind of elbow scoop. So I'm kind of taking my elbows and I'm pushing them into the floor this way. I'm gonna be doing that on both sides while gently doing a little bit of external rotation of my arms. So I'm just not gonna let my elbow flare out this way. We're just gonna keep it drawn in a little bit. Just a little bit of feedback towards the midline. And we're gonna try to build that sensation between the arms, the hands, and then once we have that set, we're gonna try to maintain the lumbar positioning as we kind of scoop the arms in front and gently project the sternum forward. And you'll feel as you're going through that, some sensations start to come into this mid area of your spine. Now keep in mind that the degree or the range of motion of thoracic extension here is super subtle. It's not a big range of motion. If it's a big range of motion, then chances are you're overcompensating through your lumbar. So just be mindful that the lumbar is staying neutral. You're keeping that elbow scoop. And then where you're just gonna lift or kind of project the sternum forward just to a subtle degree till you feel some sensation in through that mid spine. And then hang out here for anywhere between about 30 to 45 seconds. You can focus on pressurizing and breathing in this position. Take a short break, and then you can go back to that for 2 to 3 sets. For the second technique on how to improve your thoracic extension, we're gonna go through one of my favorites, and you're gonna wanna grab yourself a foam roller or really anything that you can create a roll with on the wall. You can also just do this statically with your arms, but it is nice to have something you can roll with, which you will find out here shortly as to why. So you're gonna take this up to the wall, and this is gonna be a great way for us to start to link the positioning of how to extend through the spine while keeping our shoulders and the shoulder girdle relatively stable. So we're gonna come up to the wall like so, and you're gonna take both elbows, you can kind of think just the middle of your forearm right here, onto the foam roller. And we're gonna take both arms onto this. Now what we're gonna focus on first is a press away. So I'm gonna focus on a reach. And the reason why we're doing that is because sometimes a lot of people will have a lack of stability or support through their shoulders, which kind of causes them to hang out in this position. And it's really difficult to achieve a more clean range of motion through thoracic extension if we don't have the shoulders initially set. So we're gonna get the shoulders initially set, and now we're gonna try to maintain this shoulder positioning. And what I want you to think is of as your shoulders almost as a fixed point in space. And we're gonna try to extend the spine through the shoulders. So instead of my shoulder blades coming back like so, my shoulder blades stay fixed and my spine is gonna be what moves forward. So just kind of get used to the general feel of that. And then we're gonna start to add in a roll up as we go through this. So this is where we're starting to work on that elbow scoop motion. I'm starting to press up as I start to achieve a little degree of thoracic extension. So now I have some height in through my skeleton and upper body. I'm being mindful that my lumbar isn't overextending here or that I'm flaring my ribs. So just be mindful from that Bosu exercise, same sort of idea. We're making sure the lumbar is neutral. And now we're gonna maintain this shoulder position as we reset. We can recycle the breath here, and then we can continue through that motion of the press at about this pace over a 4 to 5 second period, coupling that with some thoracic extension, hold for about 3 to 4 seconds at the end range, and reset. I would recommend working through this anywhere between about 5 to 8 reps. We don't need a ton of reps because the time under tension is so high here. And not only are you gonna start to feel some feedback come into the thoracic spine and the tissues around there, but if you connect this well, you'll start to feel tissues around your serratus and kind of the tissues underneath the armpit start to support that motion as well. For our dynamic move of the day, as it relates to thoracic extension, we're gonna focus on some pendulum swings, maintaining some level of extension on this bottom swing, and then ideally linking extension of our thoracic spine to extension of our hips without compromising the lumbar. So what we're gonna do to start with this one is just focus on the two positions. It'll be our bottom position and our standing position. So to begin, just take your arms back and think as your arms are going back, it's pulling you deeper into the hinge. The action of your arms moving back is actually gonna bring your sternum slightly forward and just promote a subtle degree of extension at this bottom position. Now, as we transition, what I want you to try to sense is that the arms are gonna lead the motion, and then the arms are gonna be what pull us into this upright position, and I'm trying to reach my arms up this way. It's as if the action of my arms moving up pulls me into thoracic extension or gives me a little bit more height in my skeleton. So now that we understand what needs to happen at this bottom position and this top position, just kind of start to flow between those two positions. You don't have to overthink it. Just try to stay kind of connected to the feet, get used to what the feel of that is like as you kind of maintain more of this upright position with your spine, and just try to linking the hips to that end range. And then we can just start to increase the momentum. So I'm just creating a little bit more of a pendulum with my arms. I'm letting my arms be a little bit loose. I'm not hanging on to tension too much. And this is becoming a little bit more of a rhythmic and ballistic motion. And as we come up, I'm looking up with my eyes and I'm thinking about my sternum kind of projecting and lifting forward as my arms take me into this end range. So there you have it on how to achieve a more clean range of motion as it relates to thoracic extension. I hope you learned something new in regards to how to create stability through the shoulders and allow the spine to extend through there. How the relationship between where our rib cage and really our pelvis is in space is very important for us to actually achieve true thoracic extension instead of just going through the lumbar. If you did find some value in this video, then consider liking it, as it just lets the YouTube algorithm know that this is something that's worthwhile and it just puts it out there more. And if you're into this type of content, really around integrated movement and in general, just looking at the body in a more holistic format, then consider subscribing. I post a video once a week and we tend to cover all sorts of different areas of the body, but ideally draw it back to the bigger picture in some way. And as always, you can go watch another video I did on the body in some way right here. Hope to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.